I found out my best friend knew my wife was cheating, but didn't tell me. Life had always seemed perfect. At least, I thought it was. I had the job of my dreams, working in a thriving marketing firm, and a beautiful wife, Laura, who was supportive and loving in every way I could have imagined. We had a house we were both proud of, a dog named Max who always made us laugh, and a circle of close friends, including my best friend, Daniel, who had been by my side since high school. We were a team, the three of us. Me, Laura, and Daniel. We'd been through everything together, parties, weddings, even the rough patches of life. Our bond felt unbreakable, almost like a perfect triangle. But like any story that seems too good to be true, there's always something hiding just beneath the surface. It started small, insignificant things that didn't quite add up. Little changes in Laura's behavior that I chose to ignore at first. She began staying late at work, even though I knew she didn't have any major projects. Her phone always seemed to be buzzing, but she'd quickly silence it or walk out of the room when it rang. I dismissed it. After all, I had a demanding job, too. And life had been a little stressful lately, so maybe she just needed some space. But deep down, something didn't feel right. And then it happened. One fateful night, I returned home early from a business trip. Laura's car was in the driveway, but when I opened the front door, I didn't hear the familiar sounds of her preparing dinner or getting ready for the evening. Instead, I heard voices. I froze in the hallway. It wasn't unusual for her to be on the phone with a friend, but the tone of the conversation sounded different. I crept closer to the living room, my heart pounding. I could hear her soft laughter, but it wasn't the warm laugh I knew so well. It was flirtatious, teasing. I didn't want to believe it, but a cold wave of suspicion washed over me. When I entered the living room, she quickly ended the call and gave me a nervous smile. "Oh. You're home early. Didn't expect that." My heart sank, but I forced a smile. "Yeah. My flight was earlier than expected." "Who were you talking to?" "Oh, just a friend," she replied quickly, her eyes flickering to her phone as she shoved it into her purse. But something in her voice didn't sound convincing. I let it go that night. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe I was imagining things. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The next few weeks passed with more of the same. Laura was distant, almost secretive. I started noticing things that had never been an issue before. She became defensive when I asked simple questions. Her phone would ring, and she would quickly silence it, giving me an anxious glance. I confronted her several times, but she always brushed it off, insisting it was nothing. But the feeling didn't go away. One evening, after yet another dinner where she was distracted and distant, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I wasn't proud of what I was about to do, but my instincts told me I needed to know the truth. I took her phone while she was in the shower. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't keep living with the uncertainty. My hands trembled as I unlocked it, scrolling through her messages. And there it was. A string of texts between Laura and someone named David. The messages weren't innocent at all. The way they spoke to each other wasn't just friendly, it was flirtatious, intimate, and worse yet, explicit. "I can't stop thinking about you," one text read. "I miss the way you make me feel," David responded. It took a few moments for the realization to hit me, but when it did, it felt like the air was knocked out of my chest. My wife was cheating on me. I dropped her phone onto the bed, my heart racing. I felt sick. But I wasn't done yet. I scrolled further and found something else that crushed me. David wasn't a stranger. It was Daniel. My best friend. The man I had trusted with my life, the one who had been with me through every high and low, was the one sleeping with my wife. It felt like the world was spinning around me as my mind struggled to grasp the gravity of what I was seeing. I had to confront them both. There was no other choice. The confrontation happened the next morning. Laura was already awake when I walked into the kitchen. Her face went pale when she saw me. I didn't say anything at first, I simply showed her the texts. The words were out before she could stop me. "You and Daniel," I said, my voice shaking. "How long?" Laura's face crumpled as she fought back tears. I didn't mean for it to happen. I'm so sorry. It was just one time at first, and then it just kept happening. I felt my heart break in that moment. Every word she spoke felt like a betrayal. My wife had betrayed me. But the deeper betrayal was from someone who should have been my ally, someone who had sworn to always have my back. "Daniel. Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice cracking. "Why didn't you come to me? Why did you let this happen?" She sobbed uncontrollably. I was confused. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to hurt you. Hurt me? She had already destroyed me. But I needed more answers. I needed to hear it from Daniel. When I called him, my stomach twisted. He answered almost immediately. "Hey man, what's up?" he said casually, like everything was normal. I couldn't hold it in anymore. "What's up? What's up?" "You've been sleeping with my wife, Daniel. That's what's up." There was a long pause on the other end of the line before he muttered, I didn't mean for it to go this far. It just happened. Just happened." That was his excuse. I couldn't believe the audacity. The anger inside me was so overwhelming I could hardly speak. But I managed to say the one thing I needed to say: "You've been lying to me. You've been lying to both of us. You were my best friend. How could you do this to me?" He stammered. "I never meant to hurt you, man. I swear. I don't know what to say. I trusted you. I trusted you," I shouted before hanging up. That was the last time I ever spoke to Daniel. The next few days were a blur of pain and disbelief. I moved out of our house, trying to escape the suffocating weight of the betrayal. I didn't want to face Laura, not yet. I needed time to figure out who I was outside of the man who had been cheated on. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I didn't want to stay in a relationship built on lies. I couldn't forgive Laura, not right away, at least. I didn't know if I ever could. And Daniel? The man I'd called a brother. He was dead to me. For weeks, I went through the motions. I focused on work, keeping busy to avoid facing the emotional wreckage of my life. But I also sought therapy. I needed someone to talk to. It was the best decision I could have made. It helped me understand that I wasn't defined by the betrayal. I wasn't weak or unworthy. I was human. I was allowed to feel hurt, but I was also allowed to heal. Slowly, I started to rebuild my life. I reconnected with old friends who had always been there for me, and I took up hobbies I had long neglected. I started focusing on me again. I worked on my physical health, my mental health, and my emotional well-being. I rediscovered things I loved doing, and little by little, I felt stronger. Months later, Laura reached out to me, apologizing for everything. She admitted the affair had been a huge mistake, and she was seeking therapy to address her own issues. But the truth was, I didn't need her apology to move forward. I had already forgiven her, for myself. Not for her. I forgave her because I needed to release the anger that had consumed me. As for Daniel, I never saw him again. There was no reconciliation. There was no friendship to salvage. He had shown me who he was, and there was no coming back from that. I met someone new a year later. Her name was Rachel. She was kind, honest, and shared the same values that I had. It wasn't an instant spark like the movies, but it was real. It was steady. And it gave me hope again. What I learned through all of this is that no matter how deep the betrayal, you can recover. You can rebuild your life, and you can find happiness again, without the people who hurt you. If you've ever gone through something similar, just know that you are not alone. You deserve honesty and respect in every relationship. If you liked this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Life may throw us curveballs, but it's how we get back up that defines us. Stay strong, and always remember, you are worth more than any betrayal.